All right, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about something that was supposed to be the big thing in 2025. AI agents. These brilliant, autonomous tools that were going to handle all our complex tasks. It was pitched as a total revolution. But as the year went on, that promise started to feel more like, well, a delusion. So let's break down what exactly went wrong. And this quote from Cal Newport, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? The hype was absolutely deafening, but what we actually got was crickets. The year of the agent quietly became the decade of the agent. It was a classic case of just moving the goalposts when you can't deliver. And that really is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? What went wrong? Was the tech just not ready? Or, and this is the interesting part, was the entire approach just fundamentally flawed from the get-go? We're going to dig into that. Okay, so first, let's just appreciate the massive gap between what was promised and what actually happened. I mean, this was a textbook case of hype crashing right into the hard wall of reality. The contrast here is just wow. On one side, you've got these grand proclamations from guys like Sam Altman and Mark Benioff talking about a digital labor revolution. And on the other side, you have the people actually building the stuff, the engineers on the ground. Andrej Karpathy from OpenAI just flat out said, it's just not working. Can't get much clearer than that. So, why this epic failure? Well, it turns out it was pretty much baked in from the start. The entire industry spent billions of dollars solving a problem that wasn't really the problem at all. You see, the industry got completely obsessed with benchmarks. They were throwing parties every time a model got better at Jeopardy or could pass the bar exam. But here's the thing. You and I don't really care about that. We just want stuff to work. We celebrate when we hit a button and a blog post actually shows up where it's supposed to, or a course gets published without a single error. They were optimizing for test scores, while all we wanted were outcomes. And this right here gets to the absolute heart of it. The problem was never that the AI wasn't smart enough. It was that the fundamental architecture was flawed. You can't fix a broken foundation by just adding more floors. So to really understand why that foundation was so broken, we have to look at what these language models actually are and what they're good at, and more importantly, what they're terrible at. Okay, this is super important. Language models like ChatGPT are probabilistic. Think of them as incredibly sophisticated guessing machines. They're just predicting the next most likely word based on patterns. They aren't following your instructions, they're guessing what you want. Code, on the other hand, is deterministic. It does the exact same thing for the exact same input every single time. That difference, it's everything. So, faced with this fundamental unreliability, how did the industry react? Well, with an idea that, looking back, seems kind of nuts. Their solution was, hey, if one unreliable agent can't do the job, let's just throw a whole team of unreliable agents at it, which, as this analogy perfectly puts it, just makes the problem so much worse. And let's just see how this plays out, right? Each agent is guessing. So Agent 1 guesses at your intent. Then Agent 2 has to guess what Agent 1 meant. Then Agent 3 guesses what Agent 2 meant. With every single handoff, you're adding another chance for a huge error. The mistakes don't just add up. They multiply exponentially. Now, in the middle of all this unreliability, there was one place where AI agents were actually kind of amazing, helping developers code in a terminal. The industry saw this, but they totally drew the wrong conclusion. Understanding why the terminal works is the real key to building AI that doesn't fail. And it's not just because it's text. First, you've got this massive 70-plus-year-old training corpus. The models are true experts. Second, the feedback is crystal clear. You get an explicit error, command not found, no ambiguity. But here's the most important reason. Terminal commands are deterministic. The command ls-la does the exact same thing every single time. And that's the magic word, deterministic execution. It's the polar opposite of a conversation. It's a system that's designed from the ground up to get rid of all the guesswork and guarantee a reliable result. So all of this leads us to a much smarter way of building these things. An architecture that doesn't try to force a language model to do a job it's fundamentally bad at. It's all about separating the job of figuring things out from the job of actually getting things done. This sentence right here, this is the entire playbook. This is the blueprint for how to build AI that actually works. Use language for what it's amazing at, understanding human intent. But for the actual execution, you hand that off to good old-fashioned, reliable, deterministic code.
And here's a perfect example of that in action. Let's say you want to create a calendar event. The language model's job is to figure out the what. It listens to your request and pulls out the title, time, and who to invite. Then it hands it off. The deterministic code handles the how. It talks to the calendar API, handles time zones, checks for conflicts, and actually sends the invites. See? The right tool for the right job.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? The industry spent billions chasing smarter and smarter chatbots when what you and I, the users, have always wanted was just outcomes. We just want the thing done. And I love this quote from a user on Reddit because it perfectly captures the paradox. As these models get smarter according to the benchmarks, they can actually become less useful for real-world tasks. It proves that just chasing intelligence was the wrong metric all along. You know, the goal was never to have a better chatbot to talk to. The real future is a system where you just state what you want and it gets done, reliably, every time. It's about action, not conversation. The path forward is finally clear. Use language to understand intent and use code to guarantee action. The companies that figure this out and embrace this new architecture will be the ones that finally deliver on that massive promise of agentic AI. It was a multi-billion-dollar mistake, but it's a lesson that might finally lead to the revolution we were all promised. And the big question is, who's going to get there first?